Alrighty, this will be the people news. Not attorney, not giving legal advice, okay? Anything I say or do is just hearsay. Alright? And it's just my opinion. Okay? Do your own research. Alright? Arm yourself with knowledge. Use that Second Amendment. Never look just straight forward. Always look around you. Protect yourself by any means necessary. Okay? So, this video is substantive. I can't even pronounce the word. substantive, due process. And I've been doing a lot of Fletcher's videos, however you pronounce his name. There's certain words in there I just cannot pronounce, okay? So excuse me, y'all. A due process and how these cops are just half-assing everything, okay? They're executive branch, okay? So when they pull you over, technically the only thing they're actually allowed to do is not even pull you over. They get as much information as you can. If you got tags on the car, the officer writes that tags down, then he's to go down to court and see if there's probable cause by his information and issue some type of notice. The courts issue a notice. Hey, you need to come to court. Allegedly you've been speeding. Allegedly your tags are out. Allegedly this. Allegedly that. Right? So you can go to court then. That's the way the officer is supposed to do it. Right? Unless there's actually a real crime. And especially in his presence. You know, we've talked about hearsay. You know, people calling in but never sign an affidavit under penalty of perjury. It's hearsay. Alright? They're going to make a complaint. They need to fill out the proper paperwork. Okay? That is within the guides of due process. Okay? So we need to kind of start getting these courts back in line, which I'm led to believe and do believe that the judges, the magistrate Fletcher, is trying to do his due diligence. He's still outside the four corners in a lot of ways, but he is the best we have in Texas as far as I'm aware of. So we're going to do a little bit of research on this word because I know it, I've seen it and read it, but I never fully read it over and over and over again to fully comprehend. So this is going to be a two-part video, okay? And this guy is going to say some words that may hurt some people's feelings out there. But if we want to do things correctly, you know, we have to take criticism as well. And we got to think outside the box, okay? Because like Fletcher says, they're out to get you.
All right, what's going on, people? It's been a while. Been a long time. Seems like it. And I haven't really made a video. I want to talk about the fragrance I'm wearing today, which is a Lictimus. So we're going to get to that. Imperium. And we're going to get to the right to travel and why this is a dumb argument. It's a semantical argument and why you're wasting your time bringing this argument up. I usually don't try to take shots at other people's information, but this is a really wasted argument, even though I do have tons of case law that supports this argument, but it's not the main reason why you're in court. So the key that people need to understand is, what are you doing in court? Before you start talking about Form 56s, before you start talking about fiduciary assignments and trusts and all of this other stuff, how did I get here? That's the number one question. And usually when I do consultations with people, when I talk to them about child support or talk to them about any other thing.
I wanted to stretch out a little further for clarification on my deal, right? When you go into the Constitution, that there's police powers, right? And the police powers is gives them power without really a call in or an affidavit from a victim or anything. But the officer has to recognize is it in a highly likely that is going to cause death or loss of limbs. Okay, so if a drunk driver is driving perfectly down between the lines and he's got it under control, that's not highly likely of people losing life and limbs, right? But if he's swinging all over the road and all this kind of stuff, well, he does have the police powers to stop you and maybe go ahead and arrest you because of there's a highly probability of loss of life and limbs if the driver cannot control that vehicle whatsoever. You know what I mean? So, instance going 130 mile an hour down Dallas and during rush hour, where there's a high probability that somebody can lose their life or limbs in a car accident due to him running 130 and everybody else's argument's sake 60 mile an hour. Well, everybody else can misjudge what he is engaged in, and I can just pull right in front of him because in my mirror I see him, but I have plenty of time to go over. But he's running 130 mile an hour. Next thing I know, he rams right back into me, and then I go into a couple of other cars. Okay, that is a police powers if the cop sees that, right? But if he is out there like on West Texas, speed limit is 80 mile an hour, very little traffic, and he's running 130 mile an hour, well, there's not really a great liability of people losing their life and limbs, right? It's got to be pretty serious for that police powers to kick in so it does not violate people's rights.
I always tell them, go get the documents that got you in the situation that you're in. Okay? If you don't understand that, when you get into a problem, this is why I gave you the video talking about debt validation. It is still be people saying, oh, there's no information in that video. How are you going to know how you got into a situation until you understand what got you in the situation? Okay? So we can obviously see that the right to travel it's backed up. There's many cases in regards to right to travel. But this is not your argument. I don't understand why people keep telling you about this right to travel argument, which is wasting your time when you go into court. The key when you're going into court is to attack what somebody is doing to violate your rights, okay? If you understand what an Article 1 court is, it's an evidentiary court, okay? When you get a traffic ticket, they're using a ticket as evidence, and they're using the ticket as the subpoena. They're using the ticket as all of this. A traffic ticket is not a subpoena.
What have we been told and told and told over again, right? This don't mean you're guilty. However, it's still evidence. And anything you do is providing more evidence. I need to show my driver's license. I need to show my registration. I need to show insurance. That is evidence. Okay? For or against you, it don't matter. Which is a violation of the Fifth Amendment and the Fourth Amendment. And if you say anything to the officer and tells you to shut up, that's the First Amendment. If he gets scared because there's a gun in your car and he's going to jerk you out of the car for officer safety, that's a violation of the Sixth Amendment. All right? And no further than that, he pulls your gun out, unloads it and all that. Where's the warrant? He just searched your gun without a warrant. That is separate from the car. Right? We don't recognize certain things, but he cannot unload that gun and all this kind of stuff without a warrant. That's their search. But nobody's fought that in court, did they? How many cases have you seen about somebody fighting it? Well, wait a minute. The officer unloaded my gun. He needed a warrant to unload that gun.
ticket is not a legal notice to come to trial. It is not an indictment. It cannot be used for any of these any of these roles. So instead of wasting your time and getting into semantical arguments where I have the right to travel, and the right to travel is based on this Supreme Court case, I do not get on here and spout case law, because case law is BS. It's BS. A lot of people they live and die by case law, but it's really BS. If you go into any case, I can pick out all of the procedural issues with any case that somebody did wrong is the reason that they lost the case instead of what the judge gave them as the verdict. So when we're getting in something like right to travel, if you're getting a traffic ticket, right to travel is not your argument. Okay? Your argument is to hold the court procedurally bound by what they're doing. If somebody allows any line of evidence into court or any I don't care what it is, if they allow anything into court, they have to qualify. So there has to be something to represent what this person is saying is a fact. Okay? A traffic ticket is not sworn to by the police officer, so it's not a fact. Even if you're getting into a case where it's a DUI or whatever thing, whatever that is, whatever kind of thing like that, driving off a suspended license, driving after revocation, whatever. These are not facts, okay? These are assumptions of facts or presumptions of facts. Now, if you allow these facts into evidence, which is basically prima facie evidence, okay, you're going to have problems. And that's why people tell you, oh, bring up your right to travel and a constitutional right and all. No. How did I get here? Okay, how am I at court? What are the processes for someone to serve you? Can a police officer serve you? Yes, they can. But they must serve you what? A summons. Okay? So now we're going to get a little bit into it. I'm going to go around with some of this stuff. So, the United States Constitution, Constitution and Supreme Court recognize and protect the right to interstate travel. So some people think, oh, yeah, or it doesn't matter. I don't give a damn what the Supreme Court says. That doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is what is the procedure of the court when they're dealing with me. Okay? That's where I'll keep it at. I don't need to get into any arguments, semantical arguments about this and that and this or that. Okay? So you have to understand what is the due process, what are the substantive due process rights that you have when somebody is trying to abridge your rights by using a court. Okay? So we're going to get to substantive due process rights. Okay, substantive due process rights is a principle in the United States constitutional law that allows courts to establish and protect certain fundamental rights from government interference, even if only procedural protections are present or the rights are enumerated elsewhere in the United States Constitution. The courts have asserted that such protections come from the due process clause. Okay? What are we talking about right to travel? When we need to talk about how did this traffic ticket get into court? Why am I talking about the right to travel? You see what I'm saying? How did that traffic ticket get into court? That's the only thing you need to be talking about. You have all these people wasting your time on the internet talking about the right to travel. That is a wasted argument. It doesn't mean you can't win with it. It's stupid. I'm going to ask them, if you have not, how did you even get this traffic ticket? What qualified you to be judge, jury, and executioner? Okay? Of the 5th and 14th Amendments to the United States Constitution, which prohibit the federal and state governments, respectively, from depriving any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Okay? Once I bring up due process, that should be it. That should be the end of the traffic ticket. I don't give a damn how severe it may have been. I might have been doing 150 in a 25 zone. Once I bring up due process, because it's impossible for them to get that off that ticket from the officer who was from the executive branch to the judicial branch without violating the separation of powers. Okay? How did they get it in there? That's all you need to be talking about. I don't talk about nothing outside of court that is not on a court record. Whatever's on that court record, that's what we're talking about. All right? So, sorry. Okay. I apologize, but sometimes prompts come up and it kind of distracts me when I'm reading certain things. All right. So, without due process of law, substantive due process demarks the line between those acts the court hold to be subjective to the government regulation or legislation, and those that courts place beyond the reach of government interference. Whether the 5th or 14th Amendments were intended to serve that function continues to be a matter of scholarly as well as judicial discussion and dissent. Okay. In recent opinions, Justice Clarence Thomas has called on the Supreme Court to reconsider all of its rulings that were based on substantive due process. Substantive due process is distinguished from procedural. See, if you know these two elements of substantial due process and procedural due process, you could pretty much get any damn case tossed out without even stepping foot in court and without even getting in one argument at all. I don't even have to argue jurisdiction because I already know how to argue without bringing up jurisdiction. Okay? I know how to argue to where they'll just like, nah, throw that case out. Because if we come after them, and people have seen this. So when you're dealing with court cases, I really don't even care about the court no more. You know what I'm saying? I still respect them for what they do because I don't try to disrespect the court because I may need them. So I may have to suit through them. So I can't sit there and disrespect the legal system. It is what it is. That's how I take it.
All right. So we're going to go with part 2.